Aurora as well, meaning that RSG are going to have a very solid team fight, but also means that they won't have quite as aggressive a first couple of minutes as game one.
Wow, the lack of mobility. That is what I'm looking out for from the side of Team Liquid Philippines. They do have quite a bit of lack of mobility aside from the Moskov. So at least when it comes down to the Camilla pick, it becomes super high value.
I agree. A lot of the heroes from the side of Tlph are very committing heroes, right? They want to dive into these team fights, and they also want to dish out the damage when they do. And I think that is going to be a big problem. We saw the Moskov having trouble even though he has the double dash setup coming through. And that's something that is scary, right? What's the plan now for Tlph? Are they going in for a little bit more team fight with the Tigreal? Because if they do in a 5v5, there's just so much AoE from the side of RSGPH. They have drafted in a way that has put them on top if they commit to it.
Not gonna lie, RSGPH draft is scary. Pretty much covers every single weaknesses that they may have in the lineup. They have single target crowd control, they have single target burst, they have lockdown, crowd control, everything that is just jam-packed in this kit. So would this actually end up in a 2-0 for RSG Philippines and keep them alive in this red group? We'll see to find out.
That is going to be the question that we all want answers to. Thank you again, Abstract. We'll catch up with you later as we jump straight into game number 2. RSG Philippines on the blue side currently 1 game up and already causing a bit of havoc in the mid lane against Liquid on the red side.
See, this is surprising, right? Because usually in this kind of situation and in this kind of lane, we would expect that Sanji on the Zask would have a little bit more room to work with and a little bit better of a wave clear. But it looks like Sanji is the one that's getting caught quite behind. And this is a really good start to the game here for RSG Philippines. I think the first thing that really caught my eye as we entered the Land of Dawn and as we entered the portal was 3 purifies given over for RSGPH. That's a lot of respect, and they understand that JP is going to be able to find these moments, but a lot of aggression already in the bottom side of the map.
Tlph taking a lot of damage. He'll hit level 4 first. His health drops low, no more resources on RSG, so not able to punish that, and that means Carl will have that EXP lead straight away.
That's going to be a problem, right? What's RSGPH's idea here with their drafts? Are they waiting for that level 4 power spike? Are they going to let this neutral objective go? Because if that's the case, then this is fine. Are they looking for more kills? If that's the case, then that's fine. But if they're looking for neutral objective takes, I think Irad needs to catch up a lot quicker because Carl TZ will have a better time when it comes down to it. But look at these predictions. 86% for Tlph. So we can already conclude that this has been a huge upset.
Yeah, a lot of the audience agreed with us in saying that Liquid should have the better chances here. RSG definitely catching everyone off guard, but a nice freeze, great combo onto the Tigreal. JP dropping so low, and that is going to be first blood given to Irad. A nice 3-man gang. Amazing way to start this off, because now they're going to have to buy a little bit more time for JP to come back into the game and to help set up for this neutral objective take. Oh, and the fact that he actually utilized his Purify there. So that's a big resource spent, and that's a big resource that they desperately need when they want to go in for these 5v5 to get that neutral objective. This puts RSG Philippines in a better position in that regard. It means they don't have to worry about the flicker implosion for a little bit, but they do still need to contest the turtle, because you can see Irad actually trying to go for some farm, which means Liquid are currently in control of it. Penalty zone comes in, Carl gets the turtle, Curse of Blood comes out on 3 members. Actually, Frigid Frost doing a lot of damage. Sanji forced to jump out of his ultimate, dropping real low on Carl TZ as well. He'll be able to get out alive, and RSG will immediately back off. I don't think they need to re-engage this. Ooh, Irad gets caught, Earth Shattered. Do they want Sanford? He still has his ult, so yeah, probably not.
Okay, that was a 1-for-1 trade, right? Team Liquid PH, they were able to get that turtle in the hands of Carl TZ, who had a EXP lead over. But what's going on in the top side there? Is Sanford in trouble?
Yeah, it's a 1v2 here, but he has Primal Wrath. We know how strong Edith is when you got that full Wrath. Nibor and Aqua actually both have to back off and recall against Sanford alone.
Oh, wow. That's a baby 40 for you. Still able to get out of there as well. The outplays coming coming in, buys them a little bit more time as TLPH, they focus their, attentions elsewhere here. I think they're looking for a better trade in the bottom side, trying to help Cutie get to that power spike quicker.
Sanford definitely felt good about that one, though. Considering what happened to them in Game 1, that's a little bit of payback over to RSG Philippines. And now 4 minutes in, we can see that the net worth difference is not that high, which looks a lot better for Liquid, considering their performance so far.
Yeah, I would agree, right? TLPH, they're putting up a fight here. They understand the winning conditions of their composition, and they're not going too heavy in these trades, right? They're not playing into the traps that RSGPH have set for them like they did in game number 1. And this is starting off quite good for the first 4 minutes of the game. And even in the lane, right, we do see that QT has respected. Wait a second, did he get that?
I think he did. If I saw correctly, he was able to secure that. And that means that RSG has a little bit of priority in the bottom lane to contest this turtle. They're actually going to give up a little bit of gold shield up top because Nibor has already started rotating over. And that means this could be a good setup. JP and Sanji, the only ones here right now. Turtle getting blitz. Implosion comes in with the Sacred Hammer. Only catches Light, though. That's not going to be enough, along with the knockup. A Curse of Blood going to land means JP is taken down. Carl falls right afterwards. Double kill to the Harry. Bridget Frost doesn't catch anyone, but forces Sanford back. Does he actually live this? Nope, he's going to explode to the Terizla. And that's 3 kills really quickly to RSG.
That was a 4-0 trade stuff. Irad, he was able to get that neutral objective take. He was able to get that turtle for himself, and then they win in the team fight. I don't really understand the idea that TLPH was going for with that exchange earlier on, because they went in one by one, was taken down one by one. They were scattered, they were behind in the setup, and then they lost everything with that. That's a 2k goldie now for RSGPH.
JP 100% expected to catch more people with that implosion. It seemed like RSG were so close together, but he only caught Light, basically the worst person to catch out of everyone. And then Liquid kind of committed onto it since JP had already gone in and got caught by Curse of Blood, which combos really well with the rest of RSG, which means lots of damage.
Here's the thing, right? As you were talking about that, there's something about the Tigreal that requires you to have someone else in your composition that has a big crowd control skill, right? Either be the Terizla or the Lapu Lapu or even the Ruby that was banned out earlier, right? Because with 3 members from the side of RSG Philippines holding on to the Purify, that in itself actually is able to negate the pressure that JP is supposed to have. And when they were caught in the same position, when TLPH was caught in the same position, they at least had the Terizla. So either Terizla would open up to bait out the Purify and then JP would come in later, or vice versa. But with this composition that they brought, they don't have that much of leeway to layer the CC skills to bait out this Purifies, and then we don't really find the value of the implosions anymore.
You need a lot of game control and coordination, basically, to be able to force out the Purifies before the setup, which I think RSG already were aware of. A beautiful dodge by Irad. Wasted Flicker Implosion. Such an important cooldown for Liquid. PH is gone. There's no way they can contest this turtle anymore. I don't think they should risk it. RSG is just gonna stand there menacingly and get it for free.
And unfortunately, in the bottom side of the map, they went in for the clear already, right? So QT couldn't even find a trade to get that tower in the bottom side. Okay, he was able to get out there with a sliver of time as Hussein was able to walk into that bush. But again, right, RSG PH, they're picking up the time, they're picking up the momentum, and now Team Liquid PH are scrambling for scraps.
I can't believe this has turned out this way. RSG, turns out they don't need to rely on early game cheese tactics either. This draft is really clean. Gameplay is good. They know exactly what they're doing, and they are slowly whittling down Team Liquid Philippines.
Yeah, they're so good at understanding TLPH, right? I don't know if that's really good prep coming into this matchup or what, right? Or they woke up and they chose violence today. Because every time TLPH go in for something to look for a trade, it feels like RSGPH, there's 2 steps ahead. And the fact that they've been able to play out these team fights rather perfectly with the way that they're comboing and layering their skills has been fantastic. RSGPH, what did you guys eat for breakfast today?
That's what I want to know. It seems like the breakfast of champions, if you ask me. Instantly concealed. They see Sanford and Tlph out of position. They want to engage on it, but here comes JP and Sanji. RSG maybe not in the best spot, but penalty zone finds 2. We can see Tlph gonna be able to use that enhanced sword to get out. Ogi Shadow Kill doesn't quite do enough damage. Irad actually staying under the tower, maybe a bit too long. Costs him his life. Sanford onward, finds Nibor, doesn't have the Earth Shatter follow-up. Team Liquid low, but they're able to slowly separate RSG, forcing the flicker out from the Edith. Nibor has to get out of here. Zaman Force allows Kusei to pick off Sanford. Light also gonna be picked off, and Kusei gonna be shut down. This could be bad. RSG losing members left and right. Team Liquid finding the opportunity they've been waiting for. The passive on Aqua only delays his demise. And Team Liquid find 4 for 1.
Did you see Benny QT, Staffa? Did you see the way that he weaved in and weaved out of that team fight? He didn't have his Holy Trinity, and he was still able to do that. Now he does, though, with those many kills under his belt, with those assists under his belt. He has built in that DHS, and this could be the turning point that Tlph has waited for and has severely needed from the first 9 minutes of the game.
A fight like that completely resets advantages you have, and we are seeing that. Team Liquid have already evened up the net worth, and that is what they're playing for. We already know how scary Moskov can be once he finishes those items, so RSG may have just made a massive blunder.
Yeah, the Team Liquid PH, they adjusted really well, right? They understood that when things get a little bit chaotic, when these team fights get a little bit chaotic for RSG PH, when they're able to bait out these resources before they go in and commit for it, that's when they shine, and that's when they come out on top, and they were able to do that. So there needs to be a way, and there needs to be a situation where they can replicate that kind of success, because the fact that Nibor already used his penalty zone, the fact that Aqua already used in her ultimate as well, allowed Benny QT to come into the team fight able to weave in and weave out and dish out the damage that he was supposed to have in these team fights.
I don't know if Irad made like some kind of misplay as well, because he just stayed under the tower for way too long. He was the first one taken out on RSG's side, and that just gave a green light to Liquid to slowly edge forward. And we need to not see that again, because now, just with that single victory, Liquid are able to take control of RSG's jungle.
They have a 3,000 gold lead now as well, right? So completely tables turns, right? The tables have turned for the side of Team Liquid PH just over that momentum. And the fact that now we can see Benny QT with the Holy Trinity. Kusei doesn't even have Holy Crystal just yet, right? He only has 2 items under his belt. He's on the way to it. But in these team fights, what do you think, right? Do you think that RSG Philippines still have an advantage?
RSG's draft is definitely still better somewhat in terms of direct 5v5, just because of how well Carmilla, Aurora, and Hayabusa work together in terms of doing damage. But if Liquid are able to properly control their approach, we've already seen that they are able to separate RSG and take them out 1 by 1. So it is going to be a bit of a skill matchup here.
Yeah, I agree with you. It just makes this even more precarious with the way that they've set up, right? It looks like it's not as straightforward as we would expect for Tlph. I would say that the win cons for Tlph and their composition is a lot more difficult as compared to RSG PH. So they have a little bit of homework, but it looks like Aqua's feeling it, by the way. Do you see his item? I think he went in with the movement speed boots, actually. So very aggressive build. He understands that he needs to be very he needs to think about the way that he positions in these team fights a lot better. And then he goes in for Sky Piercer on top of everything.
He's the one in charge of stifling momentum on the enemy side, and as long as he's able to hit someone, Sky Piercer can proc, so having the most AoE does make sense to go for that. Though if it doesn't work out, could be greedy. Conceal gonna be used at a kind of strange timing, actually. Penalty zone catches out JP. JP on top of Light. Curse of Blood not available just yet, so Tlph gonna be able to get the lore. Zaman Force gonna be used up just to clear up the Dominator's descent. Nibor, though, gonna be abandoned by himself, so Benny QT finishes him off. Fear of Destruction connects in the backline. Irad already picked off. JP jumping in front to stop RSG from escaping, sacrificing his immortality to do so, and getting Light in exchange. Carl!
Whoa.
Jumping straight into the base. That's a double kill for Tlph, and he just stands there. Oh, the winter crown to avoid being frozen as well. The man still got it.
He does. He bought that just in time for him to evade that damage. And it looks like with 4 members down, Tlph are looking in for the kill.
Yep, the Lord's crashing down. It's a 5v1. There is nothing Aqua can do. It is going to be a 1-to-1 as Liquid Echo returns the favor against RSG Philippines.
It's a 1-1 all across the board. I gotta have to say, even when I was looking at Stream C at the same time, because that is super important for our SGPH Lifeline. Apparently, GigFam ID did manage to take 1 game off in game number 1, and then NIP Flash takes game number 2.
Wow.
So we've got quite a contention over here when it comes down to Group A. There's still so much things all happening on the board, and we gotta have to wait until the end of these 2 series to really conclude anything. But you know, I digress. Focusing onto this game between RSGPH versus Team Liquid Philippines. Team Liquid Philippines managed to come back into this game, or rather, they did manage to do a relatively good job by the mid stages of the game, while RSGPH started to get really stagnant in the mid stages. What exactly is the issue coming out, despite having such a strong draft and very scary lineup?
There were a lot of moments that I believe that RSGPH, they let the ball go, right?
Oh.
I think there was a big highlight there when Irad had to die under turret. That was really the beginning of the end. The fact that they made these few mistakes that were capitalized over Tlph to give them a better say in terms of gold advantage was the start of the end for RSGPH. Because the fact that Benny QT was able to get his Holy Trinity a lot quicker, he even bought the Rose Gold Meteor to respect the burst damage coming out from Aqua, paid dividends to how successful he was in these team fights.
Yeah, I do think that it was a mixture of RSG getting a little bit carried away from playing so well in the early game and desperation from wanting to use that to end the game as soon as possible because they know that Benny QT is going to scale up to become a monster. But you still have to be very careful because if you make a mistake, then you end up accelerating that monstrous form of this Moskov, and unfortunately, that's exactly what happened.
It also kind of seemed like the final fight, right, during the Lord's fight, was one of the most pivotal fights for RSG Philippines, where they really want to deal with JP. They respect that the implosion could be the most life-threatening ultimate coming in from the side of Team Liquid Philippines, whereby we saw Light popping in a conceal, running right in the face of JP, while Nibor immediately went in for the penalty zone on the JP. This pretty much means that a lot of their resources were pretty much split between 2 sides, with a lot of these usages onto JP, while the rest of the backline is just focusing onto the rest of the members such as Sanford, Sanji, and Kaltizi. So honestly, it kind of seems like RSGPH on the final fight wasn't exactly on the same page, which made the final fight even more difficult.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from as well. That last fight where you have Nibor and Light, your 2 frontliners dealing with JP, while Irad is being left alone on the opposite side of the Lord Pit was really not good. And it felt like RSGPH was kind of reverting back to the mistakes they were making throughout the tournament.
I mean, at one point in time, they have such a good lead. In fact, that is a 6,000
such a
gold
big swing.
lead. Yeah, in fact, this is probably the first time that we managed to see such a big swing from 6,000 all the way down to close to 4,000 deficit, all in technically one fell swoop, right? Because that is the mid stages of the game. They managed to climb all the way up to 6,000, and that was all fine and dandy, but it was just a single team fight that really concluded, like Itana said, the start of the end.
I call this the mountain.
The mountain.
We don't like mountains.
We know.
Because it means that somebody dropped the ball, right? When we say mountains, that means somebody dropped the ball. And in this case, it was RSGPH. There were so many moments that I think just showed how much experience Team Liquid Philippines has, right? The fact that they did a few team fights the way that they did and they kept losing about it, and then they went back to the drawing board, they thought about it, and they're like, okay, how can we adjust to this? How come every time we go into a team fight, we always lose the ball? We always drop a lot of kills for RSGPH to utilize to their advantage. So they went back to the drawing board, they thought about it, they reset, and then they adapted. And that really shows the experience that Team Liquid Philippines has, because after that moment when they did that big swat, was the moment that every time they went in for a team fight, Team Liquid PH forced it to be messy. And when it got messy, that's when RSG Philippines had to lose everything in these team fights.
The 4 kills in the mid stages of the game really just cemented Team Liquid PH to really allow Benny Cutie to get online, and that is the point in time where he completed his holy trinity. As such, it wouldn't be too much of a surprise if Benny Cutie to be crowned the MVP. Although it's not exactly an overinflated amount of KDA with 2:0:4, the most important thing is that Benny Cutie stayed on with the team with massive amount of impact, constantly trying to keep up to the curve when it comes down to the goal per minute with 760 GPM. No matter what, Benny Cutie will always be there. He do not want to give any free kills over to RSG Philippines, which kind of gave me the idea that Team Liquid, they were pretty methodical when it comes down to the entire stage of the game. Even when the start where RSG Philippines picked up early 6 kills, Team Liquid PH just required one match, or rather one fight, to really turn things around to get themselves 4 total kills.
See, this was the moment when everything just really turned down for Benny Cutie, right? After this, he was able to get a kill and an assist, and that really helped him propel him forward in order to get that holy trinity locked in. This was the beginning of the end for RSG PH, and it's an important thing to note. Sure, his KDA wasn't as brilliant as it usually is, but even from the beginning of the game, the way that he itemized was also very on point, right? He went in for the cloak for magic defense. He didn't build in his shoes just yet. He didn't go in full for damage because he respected the potential that the Harith had in that 1v1 in the laning.